Hey guys, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Here to do another video. If you were with us last year, you know what this is and how this works. But just after every Steelers game, I'll kind of go through and recap the good, the bad, the ugly, and my overall thoughts on whatever happened in the Steelers game. And obviously today, or Sunday at least, a 21-18 victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Cleveland Browns. And yes, of course, game was a lot closer than what it should have been, could have been, and that's upsetting and stuff that has to get worked on. There's no debate about that. But when you know it's AFC North football, you know what's on the road, you know it's week one. Whenever you're facing a new quarterback, a new defensive coordinator, when you know yourself as a team, had some injuries in the preseason. It's not a shock to see the game close, and I thought it was going to be a one-possession game. If you saw in my win-loss scenarios, where I always give the prediction at the bottom of the article on Depot, I said it was going to be a 27-20 game. Ends up being 21-18. So I didn't think it was going to be a blowout. Generally, not the Steelers' MO. They always like to keep teams around. Now, I didn't expect things to be this bad, especially offensively. Obviously, it was pretty ugly. To have no semblance of a run game is disappointing. Now, to be fair, there was no run game in the last matchup, Week 17, against the Browns last year. The Browns have a better defense than people think. Them getting Danny Shelton, their big nose tackle, back and healthy for this game was critical. So that's a positive thing on their part. And, of course, the Steelers having all those penalties that negated some big runs, some of their bigger runs of the day, played a factor. So, if you did, and this is obviously unfair to do, but if you took some of that stuff away, you could have a different outcome. And obviously, I think it's going to get better, but today was disappointing. And the whole offense was. Too many penalties, too many times you're in second and third and long. You couple that with a good, punting performance from the Browns to pin the Steelers, inside their 15, I think 3 or 4 times. It definitely caused the Steelers a lot of problems. It's hard to say exactly what the issue was. Week one is a weird week across the league. If you look at some of these games, not just Pittsburgh, but elsewhere, you get some weird outcomes. You get the Patriots blown out. You get the Rams putting up 46 on the Colts. You get Jacksonville blowing out, the Texans. And, you just get some weird stuff in week one. So it's hard to take what happens today and apply it to the entire season. The season is going to be made up by so much more than one game. So I think you wait until after week 4 and you kind of see where the team is at, where the progression's at, where's the regression at, and what areas still need to be addressed. That's what I'm most interested in. But, you got to give credit to the defense and special teams today because they definitely propped up the offense, which is usually the opposite of how it went last year. The defense, one thing I don't think is getting talked about enough for the Steelers defense, their performance today, was their run defense. It was phenomenal. Kaiser really didn't have a lot of scramble lanes. I think Isaiah Correll had, I don't have the number in front of me, but something like 17 carries for 33 yards, and he hit along a 6. They had no run game today. So when you have a passing attack that isn't extremely potent, a rookie quarterback, and you totally take away that run game that has a good offensive line. The Browns totally upgraded the line. J.C. Tretter's a good center. Kevin Zeitler, Batonio, Joe Thomas, of course. It's a solid line. And when you shut them down completely and you make that offense one-dimensional, that's how you get 7 sacks. And I thought a lot of those sacks were on Kaiser, but I thought a lot of it was on good individual effort. And some scheme and some coverage sacks as well. So I think there was a combination there, and that was certainly big because you put Cleveland in their own second and third and long situations. Now I think Pittsburgh definitely hurt themselves by allowing a couple of third and longs, by having some penalties that gave some chunk plays or kept drives alive. When it comes to mind, the Gay helmet-to-helmet contact on third down that would have been short of the sticks that kept the drive alive for Cleveland. So there were issues there, but I think on the whole, anytime that you're a defense that, gets 7 sacks and completely shuts down a run game and doesn't really allow a ton in terms of explosive plays, I think that's a good way to start. And again, this Hugh Jackson led, Cleveland Browns team's a tough one. And I think the Browns are, and I've said it, are going to be a better team this year. Probably not a good team, but a better team. And at least based off today and kind of what my thought was before the season started was they could probably finish third place in the AFC North because I think the Bengals are going to be dead last with how terrible that offensive line is and how mediocre Andy Dalton is. But, defensively for Pittsburgh, I thought there was a lot of promise. So that Artie Burns had generally a good game because you didn't hear his name. I mean, he had the one holding call, but outside of that, he really wasn't targeted too often. Joe Hayden, I'm not too sure how well he did today. It seemed a little shaky, but it is the first game for him. But offensively, where I thought the Steelers really succeeded at, and it's such a critical area and such an area that they struggled so mightily in last year, was the red zone. You get the two big touchdowns to Jesse James, and that was an area that we dogged him for, and I think rightfully so. He struggled there, and that's the catalyst to the Vance McDonald move. But James had the nice combative catch on the first touchdown. The second one was kind of more scheme based, that little middle tight end screen that they run the heck out of in 7 shots in training camp. So you take a training camp setting, 7 shots, goal line situation. You take a play that's popular that they run all the time there, maybe once every other practice, probably a rough estimate. That's been successful, and you take it into the game, into a stadium, and it works. So you can take that application of a setting in training camp and apply it to a game and get those dividends. So credit to Jesse James. A lot of people dogged him, myself included. He's got to keep that up, but I think it was a good kind of shut up moment for Jesse James, telling everyone else to shut up, and that he's still around and he's not going to go away quietly, which is huge for him to have that level of competition by bringing in a guy like McDonald to rise to the moment and have a really strong game, at least as a receiver, as a blocker. I'm not too sure how well he did. I don't think anyone really blocked well, considering how poor the day was on the stat sheet. But a good game overall for Jesse James. And Antonio Brown, I mean, what more can you say about AB? He's ridiculous. But I have an article that's either gone up or is going up shortly in the morning on Steelers Depot about kind of some of the extra things that Todd Haley did to help AB get open, and just some basic stuff to make sure the Browns couldn't key him and take him away, that I thought was really important for Brown to have his 11 reception, 182-yard game. Special teams, really strong. No bad snaps, I don't think. Of course, the block punt for the first points of the game. It looked like a complete breakdown for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not sure what happened. I didn't get a great look at it, but Medikevich just came up the middle free, and nice job, no contact with the punter, and then Chickala falls on the ball in the end zone, and that's how you get your first points of the game. So credit to them. Didn't have to return a kick, thank goodness. You know my thoughts on the kick return situation and how kind of sketchy it is. But if you get some reps without having to return anything today, that's going to be helpful going forward with Watson and Juju Smith-Schuster. Too sloppy, 13 penalties. That's not acceptable. That's not going to win you games consistently. A lot of butt kicking today on the Steelers' part. Steelers hurting Steelers, which anytime that you lose to a lesser team, or it's a closer game than it should be, it's usually you're kicking your own butt with turnovers and poor situational football and penalties and things like that. And you could argue it was a combination of all three today. But end of the day, to go in week one on the road, AFC North football, it's always tough. It's always competitive. To walk out with a victory, you take it. Was it perfect? No. Was it even close to perfect? No. But you're just happy to walk away with a victory. I think situationally there are some positives to take from. The injury side of things, as of this recording right now, it's Sunday night. It sounds like Stephon Tuitt has a torn bicep and is going to miss the year. He's going to have an MRI Monday morning, and either that'll get leaked out then, or Tomlin will announce it Tuesday during his press conference at noon. But we can assume, right now, I think it's safe to say he's going to miss the entire season, which sucks. I mean, there's no two bones about that. You feel for the guy. I think he's earned that contract that he got Saturday, and then he had a great first 2 plays, and he ends up tearing his bicep, or at least we assume that he did. But Steelers went through this last year. They have Cam Hayward back, and I think most of all, to sign Tyson Alualu, who played really well in the preseason, is probably one of their best depth signing at that position they've had. He's not going to make it a seamless transition, but it's about as seamless as you're going to be able to get to go from Tua to anyone else. So there is good depth there. You're going to have Hargrave be able to play in some nickel packages and things like that. So you do what you can to mask the loss of Stephon Tuitt. I mean, again, we'll have to wait and confirm to make sure that is truly the case, and if he's going to miss the entire season, or if there's any scenario where he could be a IR to return candidate. But again, as of what this recording right now, that seems unlikely. So I want to keep this one a little bit short. I want to get your thoughts on what you thought about the game. Obviously, again, less than ideal. I don't deny that any bit. A lot of struggles on offense. Still some struggles on defense in the secondary. Steelers got lucky a couple times as well. I remember Kenny Britt had that big drop of running a 15, 20-yard dig over the middle that could have been a big play. So, you take what you get, though. Steelers will play Minnesota next Sunday at 1 o'clock. Hopefully a lot better. The run game has to be more consistent. I'm really curious what happened with the offensive line. I don't know if it was because the Browns run a 4-3 and the Steelers, mostly seen 3-4 looks in practice. That's gotten them into trouble in the past. But, I mean, they've played Cleveland before. Though Cleveland, I believe, was one more of a 3-4 before. But, you played teams in the preseason that ran a 4-3. So, I don't know. I don't really put a lot of it on Bell missing time. I think it's more of a team thing than it is just on Bell. I don't think there were a lot of plays you can point to where it was like clearly on Bell or something that Bell did wrong. I mean, there might have been one miscommunication with him and Ben out of the backfield, but generally that's going to be a team issue rather than it's going to be, well, Bell missed time, and so that's the reason why the run game faltered. I think that's way too convenient and simple of an explanation. But I'm curious to see what the heck happened. I'm curious to see why Martavis Bryant didn't get involved more, and whatever else we could find there when they all 22. I'm just excited to see some all 22 again because you don't get it for the preseason. It's been a while since we've had some fresh tape, so I'm excited to dive into all that. Can't forget about T.J. Watt either. What a performance by him! 2 sacks, an interception. I mean, the guy showed a little bit of everything. Being smart as a pass rusher, not getting washed up the arc, being able to counter inside, finishing plays, his effort to the football. I thought was really strong. The athleticism he showed on his interception was just great. Dropping into coverage as the overhang defender, the curl flat guy, getting depth, reading Kaiser, and making a heck of a play to high point and finish the play. That's he's already had a better rookie year than Jarvis Jones had in his rookie year, maybe his whole career. So hats off to T.J. Watt. That's a really good start for him. Thought Anthony Chickillo responded really well as well with Bud Dupree being out, which is creating great frustration for me. I really want Bud to have a good year, and obviously, this shoulder injury that he's dealing with is not a good way to start. But, when given the opportunity, Anthony Chickillo has always responded. There are some flaws in this game, maybe some, rush lane integrity kind of issues, maybe some run defense issues, but the guy's always been a star in camp, and he's always been able to get after the quarterback and the ability to finish plays, which is something this defense and this pass rush really needed. So for him, I think 2 sacks today for him. Whenever Dupree comes back, hopefully, I'll assume that it'll be this Sunday against Minnesota. I think that Chickillo deserves some time, and so from going before camp to the thought of Dupree was going to dominate the snaps on the left side, now I think Chickillo's opened the door to get him a really good look at some play time until either Dupree proves it or Chickillo keeps playing this hot streak that he's on. So we'll see where that goes for next week. We'll have to see about Dupree's status and go from there. I'm sure I missed some things. I want to get through the tape myself. We got a lot of content going up this morning, this whole week, trying to recap this Browns game. Really excited to dive into things. Excited to get the victory. Thank you guys for the support. I love talking with you guys. If you have any other questions, comments about today's game, I'm sure you do. Let me know either on YouTube or on Depot or Twitter or wherever you can find me. That whatever you want to do is totally cool with me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet. If you want to see these videos first or just have it on file in case you want to go back and so you don't have to sift through the Depot archives, that's cool too. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.